What if a college course that was designed to help you succeed actually made you feel like you didn't belong? Well, that was the reality for students in a mandatory class at Lee College, until the faculty there flipped one simple, powerful assumption on its head. And that is the story we're going to dive into today.
All right, so here's our plan. We're going to start by breaking down a really common problem in education, what I'm calling the toolbox trap. Then we'll see how a pretty radical shift in perspective led to a brand new curriculum, some incredible results for students, and honestly, some powerful lessons that can be applied just about anywhere.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're at Lee College, and they have this required course for our first-year students called Learning Frameworks. On the surface, the idea sounds great, right? It gives students a toolbox of skills, time management, goal setting, the usual suspects, and they'll be ready to go. The only problem? It wasn't working. I mean, faculty could see it plain as day. Students were just disengaged, checking boxes, doing the busy work just to get a grade. But the administrators noticed a deeper problem. Just because you hand someone a tool doesn't mean they'll know how or even why to use it when things get genuinely tough. But the real problem, the one hiding underneath it all, was so much deeper. You see, the whole course was built on this hidden, unintentional assumption that students were arriving, well, broken, that they had a deficit. Without even meaning to, Lee College was telling its students that the experiences and skills they already had just didn't count here. So, as you can imagine, that realization was a huge wake-up call. It sparked a complete redesign. They knew they had to make a massive pivot, from focusing on what students were missing to celebrating and actually leveraging what they already brought with them. And this right here, this is the core of that entire shift. It's about changing the fundamental question. The deficit model is always asking, what are you missing? But the asset-based model flips that completely and asks, what incredible things do you already bring to the table? It's a total game changer, viewing students not as empty vessels to be filled, but as people who are already equipped with valuable skills from their own lives. Now, to make a shift this big, the team needed a new playbook. They found it in Dr. Tarayoso's powerful concept of community cultural wealth. This gave them a new language, a whole new lens to see the often overlooked skills that students, especially from marginalized communities, already possess. What Yaso does is break this wealth down into 6 forms of capital. So, for example, aspirational capital is that raw power to dream big, even when the odds are stacked against you. Or linguistic capital, the skill you gain from navigating multiple languages or different communication styles. The curriculum's new goal was to help students see these strengths and others, like knowledge from their families or their ability to navigate complex systems, as legitimate, powerful academic assets. So this all sounds great in theory, right? But how did they actually put it into practice? It wasn't enough to just tell students they had these amazing strengths. They needed to learn how to use them strategically in their new college environment. And that's where the second pillar of the redesign came in, self-regulated learning, or SRL. The whole goal was to build students' metacognitive skills, which is really just a fancy way of saying they taught students to think about their own thinking so they could become the active pilots of their own education. The entire course was rebuilt around this simple but incredibly effective 3-step cycle. Before any assignment, students would plan their approach, then they would practice putting those strategies to work, and afterward, and this is the most important part, they'd reflect, asking, what did I learn about myself as a learner? What am I going to do differently next time? And this is where the magic really happened, where the 2 frameworks merged so beautifully. Students started consciously using their navigational capital, that skill for maneuvering tough situations to plan out a complex paper. They drew on their social capital to form study groups. Their inherent cultural wealth became the fuel for their academic success. So, did all this actually work? Let's get to the results. Because this shift wasn't just philosophical, it created real, measurable, and pretty profound change for students. The data is frankly stunning. Look at this, a 55% jump in students who could clearly articulate their own strengths, a 36% increase in knowing which study strategies actually worked for them, and maybe most powerfully, a 50% increase in students believing their own effort could make them smarter. That is a monumental mindset shift. And the impact went far beyond academics. Students reported feeling more accepted by their peers and by faculty. Their confidence in their ability to succeed in college jumped significantly. This wasn't just a class anymore. It was an engine for building a true sense of belonging.
You can just hear that transformation in the students' own words. This person's realization that they weren't alone in their struggles. That wasn't a side effect of the class. It was a core outcome of the design.
And this comment really brings it all home. Another student called the class a confidence boost that helped them navigate the chaos of college life. It was finally achieving its original goal, but by taking a completely different and far more human path. Okay, so what does Lee College's success mean for the rest of us? Let's try and distill their hard-won wisdom into a few key takeaways. First, start early and make it real. Have students identify their strengths from week 1, but don't let it be a one-time thing. You have to weave it into the entire semester. Second, connect those assets to action. Pair the what you have with the how you use it of metacognition. And finally, you have to look at the big picture. Audit your language, your syllabi, your posters for any hidden deficit-based assumptions. It all matters.
Here's the bottom line. Shifting from a deficit to an asset-based model isn't just a new teaching trend. It's a fundamental change in how we see our students as capable, resilient, and resourceful people from the moment they walk through the door.
Lee College's story really leaves us with a powerful question. When we stop focusing on what people lack and start celebrating what they bring, we don't just improve performance, we change how they see themselves. And that raises a challenge for all of us. How can we apply that lesson not just in schools, but in our own work, our own lives, and our own communities?